All right. Boom. Hey everybody. Alexis here. Super excited to see you today. Thanks so much for joining in and tuning in. So the broadcast has started. So this is a while ago. Actually, over the last few years, I've as part of my personal growth and personal development, I've tried out a lot of different sort of task management and productivity tools. Um, and that started with obviously to-do lists and making plans and thinking ahead and planning in general. And eventually, I started using boards. I don't know if you know Trello, but it's a way to sort of slice up your tasks, not just have a list, but have like a plan, sort of like a there's a bucket for things that are to do. Then there's a bucket that's only for doing, and then there's a bucket for done. And you write out your little tasks in the to-do list, and then you drag it over to the doing bucket when you're doing it, and then when you're done, you put it into the done bucket, obviously. And I've actually used this quite a bit with Teams, and I've loved it with Teams. Um, because I kind of really I want on one hand I want overview. I want to see everything that I'm I want to get stuff done while I'm also wanting to plan it. And I think in reality what I really am trying to do and what I have been trying to do and where I really wanted to go was a feeling of control, and sort of feeling safe and secure really, about where I'm going with my life, because there's so many things when you're an adult, as you know, right? There's so many things that come up, and so I've been struggling and I've been aiming, and I've always tried to create this sort of sense of tranquility and of safety and security, and a way to control this experience, and moving forward. And I think for me, about half a year ago, I ran into a wall. I'd created a planner for me. I was using Trello and all of that, but I just felt overwhelmed, and the more I started to plan, the less I got done. And even with those fancy tools and those fancy techniques, it felt really overwhelming, and I felt I wasn't moving forward. I felt like I was just standing still. And I got really frustrated because, yes, I want to be productive, and also I want to have that feeling of security and have that feeling of sort of like feeling confident, about my progress. And it just felt like this upward hill. I felt like I was just walking up a hill every day, and there was no end in sight. Really frustrating. And by I honestly don't remember. Probably it was on Amazon. I got this book recommended, and I'll show it to you. It's called The One Thing, which is a book by two authors, by Gary Keller and with Jay Papasan. And so, as you can tell, it's a New York bestseller. You may have seen it at the airport. It's one of those. I saw it and I was like, oh yeah, okay. So it's yet another one of those self-help books, or self and productivity. It's just going to add yet another layer of complexity, some newfangled blah 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 technique. And but I started reading it, because I felt like I have nothing to lose. My Trello boards, my to-do lists, my whatever aren't working. So I was able to and ready to listen. And what this book basically boils down to, as the title says, is to figure out it's based around one question, and the one question is, for, let's say, your business or for your job in whatever space you're in. It asks you, and you ask yourself, what's the one thing that I can do right now, or this week, or this month, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary afterwards. So basically, it requires to think about, if I'm working on a project, what is the one thing that if I do that, then all the other things afterwards will be easier. And I felt like and it's just one simple question, and there's only one answer to it, which is the most important thing I should be doing right now. So it sort of tips over like a to-do list into basically just a, a to-do item, which I love, because it takes away all, like it makes total sense. There's no more list. There's just this one thing, and it's the one piece of focus. And so I was like, okay, I'm sold. By the way, there's a ton. There, every chapter is a highlight. There's a lot of insights in this book that, besides this main focus of what's the one thing, that I think is brilliant, and I think you should buy the book. But I made the plan. Okay, I'm in. Right. I want to figure out what my one things are, and I'm gonna just work with this. And what I found was, and it's a good plan, but if you're I wasn't really, it takes practice, and it took me a good while, because I my mind would work against me if I asked that question, what's the one thing that I should be doing right now in, let's say, my business. My mind would just start like offering me all these options, and they all seem very much equal, and so it was really hard to find what has the most leverage. And so the first week, I think I basically failed. I failed finding those one things. I just would just like sort of pick something that seemed effective and seemed like that would topple all the other pieces, if I did it. And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't, and I couldn't really get into the flow, but I kept at it. So I kept on asking myself every morning. The first thing for a whole week, I asked myself in the morning, what's the one thing, the first thing in the morning, that if I did that, I'm still in bed. We're talking about I'm still in bed. What's the one thing that if I do it right now, the rest of my day will be easier, or things become irrelevant. And it's so funny, because I started slowly to sort of get into that groove of finding that essential thing. And for me, it actually turned out, was a lot about mindset. So in the morning, if I when I started asking myself that question, what's the one thing, it became, yeah, maybe I should, you know, really focus on feeling great and feeling successful and feeling like motivated, and getting into a zone of like feeling like I want to conquer the day. And if I could feel that and think that and have that attitude, naturally everything else would fall into place much more easier, or I would be able to persevere when things got tough. And so this is so funny. In the week that I started thinking like, what's the one thing? Oh, it is like really pump myself up and really like sort of raise my energy level. Those days things got really hard. I got like thrown everything life had was thrown at me. Difficulty in my relationship, challenges at work. Yet, and this is so beautiful, because I had set myself out to say, yeah, I'm gonna master this day. I didn't lose faith, because I had set myself up so early, the first minutes in, just as I'm getting up, that even though things got harder, on the outside, that one thing, that mindset of I'm gonna rock this day, I'm gonna enjoy this day, I'm gonna have fun, really really helped me pull through, even though things got maybe even more difficult. So at the end of the day, right now I'm like I read this, I finished it up like 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago. I'm still referring to it every single day, and it's been like I finally have achieved a place of control, and of clarity. And I even asked my friends, like Jonathan, he mentioned it in his own video. I keep on asking friends, what, now you have 10 things you could do. What is the one thing? And I ask myself the same thing. And some, during the day, it's very work related, but it works at any level. So I feel like I feel much less stressed now about the future, and it has reduced my anxiety of, will I make sure everything is done, or will I get there wherever that is, because I now know that it's so powerful finding that one thing, and it may take a while. It may take, minutes or 10 minutes to find that one thing, but once you do and you decide, or once I decide I'm gonna do that, and I do it, everything is easier or unnecessary, and things, just disappear because, I solved it. And so I feel so much better. I feel so much more relaxed. Um, and so if you are struggling with your to-do lists and Trello boards and personal productivity, I highly recommend you look into this book here called The One Thing, by Gary Keller. I think it's worth. Hi, Jonathan. I just finished talking about my story, how I got to The One Thing, the book that you referred to yesterday, and it's changed my life. It's one of those. I hit that wall of productivity with tasks and to-do lists and Trello boards, and yeah, I'm able to not need any of those at the moment, and instead just ask myself that one question right when I get out of bed, first thing, and then keep on asking that over and over again. And yeah, so if yeah, you got to get the book. It's amazing. It's really good, and and I just mentioned that it's actually, there's so many. I don't even understand how, like, some of the chapters are sort of like segueing in complete other aspects of life that are not just about the one thing. And there's like so much good stuff here that isn't even like productivity, but it's more like mindset that I had never heard before, that I had never seen before. And I'm not going to tell you all of them because it's good enough if you just look at the book from that question. But it's worth the what's it, 9.99. So what's your one thing today for the rest of the day? What's the one thing right now that if you do it, then everything else is easier or becomes unnecessary? And so for me, let me think. What is my one thing? My one thing is I'm going to take a break because I've been working since 5 a.m. this morning, so it's going to be a break moment for me. I think that will make the rest of my evening easier, and I will be able to maybe finish up some tasks after that. So I'm excited. So yeah, Jonathan, my man. Yes, yeah, what is that one thing? And same question for you. And so, yeah, thanks so much for joining in. As always, a pleasure. And I'll talk to you. I'll see you on Wednesday. All right, my man. Talk to you soon. Peace. Bye bye.